Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name's Judy Utall. I'm the chair of the Autism and Entertainment Work Group. And just because this is a webinar, we'll have you silenced and then there'll be some opportunities for you to talk later. But if you do want to chat, please use the chat. So we invite you to use the chat to just connect with other people. And I'm going to go through a little bit of housekeeping. So today's webinar is co-sponsored by Game U, and you'll learn more about them today. And the topic is life as a game developer. If this is your first time coming to Autism and Entertainment, welcome. If it's your millionth time, thanks for coming back. Our mission is about increasing employment for people on the autism spectrum in the entertainment industry. So we want to see more of you employed. And we do that by making sure that entertainment companies, when they're thinking about inclusivity, include neuro-inclusivity, and that they understand the value of somebody on the spectrum that they can bring to their organization, that they're aware of some of the resources out there, like Department of Rehab and regional centers that have some programming that's available to them to take advantage of when they do hire you. And then webinars like today are a way of helping you navigate your own career path. Each one of you is going to have your own career path, and we want to facilitate that by having you learn more. So we are funded, just like PBS, especially now, through a membership. So if you're not already a dues paying member, please do consider it. It's $10 a month for an individual, or if you purchase for a year, it's $100 for the year. Many have gotten Regional Center or Department of Rehab to pay for that. We also have membership levels for our educational partners and for businesses. I'm excited to announce that we have our first big fundraiser coming up. It is on September 7th at the Laugh Factory. We're just now lining up the talent. So we already have 5 well-known comedians: Brian Kiley, Jeremiah Watkins, Nick Novicki, Willie Hunter, and Alice Payne. And so they will be appearing. We'll also have some of our educational partners who do live performances, perform either some skits or some music. And then finally, we're going to be premiering a film called Extraordinary Character that was produced and directed by Alex Estrella. Alex is an educational partner with Autism and Entertainment, and he also founded Blue Star Productions. So we're really excited. It'll be on September 7th at the Hollywood Laugh Factory. Ticket sales will be starting up soon, so when we will announce it, you can also find it on our website. So I encourage you to order quickly because we will sell out. Another activity that's coming up is our creator community. This is a program we started this year where we bring folks together so that they can get to know each other and possibly create crews of if they're working on projects. So we actually do it in 3 locations. So we have a location in Irvine. We'll be meeting at the Quail Hill Community Center, which is where we met in March. And then there'll be an LA meeting at the Ed Asner Family Center in Van Nuys. And finally, a virtual meeting over Zoom. And we've got some really interesting talks during this event. Dale Lawrence is the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Operating Officer at Variety. And she feels very passionate about you folks developing your own content, developing your own social media presence. And so she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. Joey Travolta, who runs Inclusion Films, is the founder of Inclusion Films, has a new show that's streaming called Lights, Camera, Friendship on the Spectrum. And he's going to be talking about that. And so that's another interesting talk. And Matt Asner and his wife, Nava, who are the co-founders of the Ed Asner Family Center, will kind of give you some background on the Family Center and what's going on there. And then for the virtual folks, you'll be basically meeting from 5:30 till about 7. For in-person, we'll have some networking going on. Marlene usually runs the virtual, and I know that you guys network after the main session, even though you're connected over Zoom. And with that, I'm really happy to introduce Alex Boydston. And Alex is here to tell you a little bit more about Game U.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes, yes. Thanks for that introduction, Judy. So, as one of Autism and Entertainment's education partners, we at Game U are very excited to have the opportunity to talk with you all. We've been passionate advocates for inclusion in technology-based learning and industries, as well as specialist providers of coding, computer, and digital design programs for over 10 years. While we teach students of all ages and abilities, Game U's primary focus is on empowering people with autism to learn in-demand skills that today's digital economy, and specifically the video game industry, require. My name is Alex Boydston, as Judy said, and I will be one of the Game U reps presenting today. Today's presentation is called Life as a Game Developer, and it'll be led by one of our pro instructors, my colleague, Adam Coleman. In this presentation, Adam will have the opportunity to show you many things, including the overall growth of the game development industry over the past decade, as well as some predictions for the next 10 years. We'll also take a look at career opportunities that are available within the field. We'll also identify both technical and personal skills needed for game developers. And then Adam's going to finish this all off by showing us how to create a game from the ground up. It's really exciting to see come to life. But to start it all off, I would like to take a moment to tell you all about Game U and how our courses are built by industry experts, aligned to real-world workplace needs, and designed from the ground up with neurologically diverse learners in mind. So let's talk about the inception of Game U. The inception of Game U started from an idea. After nearly 20 years in the industry, Mike Kawas, Game U's owner, thought, what if I could teach kids how to make games, just like I do? The answer? Absolutely. And just like that, Game U was born. With curriculums crafted and taught by professional game developers, Game U courses harness that love of gaming, tailoring it to each student's unique learning needs to turn video game consumers into video game creators, just like you see my shirt says. In terms of purpose, Game U is the premium provider of online courses that teach video game creation, with a social mission to facilitate inclusivity in video game design. We do this by empowering individuals of all abilities, including those with special needs, to learn the skills needed to succeed in the video game industry. So what makes Game U uniquely suited to neurodiverse learners? Well, firstly, there's that word, unique. Game U's All Abilities program is meticulously designed to meet the unique needs of neurodiverse learners. Course delivery and curriculum is tailored to each individual's goal. We'll have consultation with every student prior to the classes, as well as families and case managers when it's appropriate. We're well practiced as well. Game U's HCBS aligned curriculum has taught over 2,500 students valuable coding, computer, and digital design skills. That's right, 2,500 neurodiverse students have learned all these skills. We're accessible too. Game U is an allowable service under many self-direction and traditional Medicaid waivers. We work with multiple states, including California, where Autism and Entertainment is based out of. Lastly, our outcomes-based approach delivers benefits in 3 key ways. Game U's coding and computer courses build problem-solving and critical thinking capabilities that boost student independence, helping to prepare them for the workforce. Our welcoming settings and collaborative learning environments foster cooperation on projects, idea sharing, and community building. And our project-based learning model helps apply knowledge in practical scenarios to reinforce skill development. But ultimately, the biggest point of difference that GameUse offers to each learner is that direct link to the industry. We have over 100 working game developers on staff. Each and every single one of them are professionals in their field. Every single one of our instructors are a pro at what they do. And because they know what it takes, they also know which skills matter. So we teach the tools and concepts that the industry demands. And this is an ever evolving industry. What worked 5 years ago may not work today. What worked 10 years ago may not work today. But that doesn't just apply to straight game development and coding. It's the associated skills too, like 3D modeling, animation, graphic artwork, and many more. As Adam will dive into later today, you'll see that there are so many different factors that go into making a game. In fact, at GameU, we offer over 220 course modules. I've had the pleasure of sitting down with one of our All Ability students for a testimonial. His name is Norman, and Norman joined Game U with no prior experience in game development. He joined simply as a fan of games and someone interested in making their own. Now, Norman has multiple projects to his name, including his own version of Super Mario World. Not sure if anybody's ever played that classic, but that is definitely one of my favorites. So it's really cool to see a student create their own exciting version of it. All right. So now I'm going to hand off the presentation to my colleague, Adam Coleman. Adam has been in this games industry for over 20 years and has worked on a large resume of projects, but I'll let him talk about that. But before I do hand it off, I want to take a second to acknowledge exactly what Judy mentioned earlier, that we will have some time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, throw them into that chat and we'll answer them during the Q&A. Go ahead and take it away, Adam.
Thank you, Alex. So it is a pleasure to be here. Welcome, everyone. I am excited to be here. Life as a game developer, right? So I want to give you a little bit about my background and introduce my associate, James, who's with me. So again, my name is Adam Coleman. I am an industry veteran. I've also worked at GameU as a senior instructor, where I teach what I've learned, right? A little bit of what we're going to be doing today. I worked at EA Games, and I worked there for about 15 years. Some older games, there probably might be some older people in the crowd don't know, but some younger people, right? I worked on Dark Age of Camelot, Warhammer Online, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, and Star Wars Online. And at least I usually get the eyes to light up when I say Star Wars. Most people should know Star Wars at least. So I had the pleasure of doing that, and I am a software engineer, so I'm a programmer, right? With me, and I'm glad to introduce James Ruman, who's with me, right? He is more of the art side of this, right? So I want to kind of introduce James Ruman here for a moment, right? Go ahead and introduce yourself, James.
Hi, I'm James. I've been working at GameU for around 6, 7 years. I do a lot with 3D modeling, and I design many of the assets they use in the lessons for the students. I'm also part of the team that does group projects where we build a game from the ground up, much like you're seeing on the screen right now. That was a 3D platformer we made some years ago called Orlo, where it was similar to like Spyro the Dragon, where you move around the world and you're controlling the character in full 3 dimensions. So there was jumping, there was shooting, there was a lot of platforming and things like that. We've also done similar projects with survival horror, where the player would be around a mall and a Wendigo-like monster would be chasing them.
Awesome. So I've got some questions for you, James, actually, because again, I'm from the engineering side. I'm so happy to have someone from the art side of it, right? To speak to the art side. I want to ask you first, James was one of our students who now teaches and works with us at GameU. What was it like, right? Why did you want to get into art and animation and modeling?
Oh, I've always had an interest in sculpting.
And how do you normally do it? Like, are there what kind of industry tools or specific things do you use when you're working?
I use Maya, and I use Adobe Substance Painter. And what Substance Painter is a texturing program where they take a lot of textures from real life objects and you can reapply them to objects in the 3D modeling space. And Autodesk Maya is a 3D modeling program that allows you to build objects from basic polygons into complex objects.
And that's one of the coolest things. I always like to highlight it is that anything you see in a video game, what you see on the screen with James' work here, everything you see is based off these basic polygons. They're these little squares, little circles that you're stretching and sculpting like clay. So it's really artistry, right? And I have a huge appreciation for everything James does. But I've got a question, James. What is your favorite part of working with models, modeling, working on games?
I like the whole process. I pretty much design things from the ground up. So I'll usually start things out with a 2D schematic that I drew, and I move it on to 3D modeling, where you build out the character, and then I move on to texturing, where the character gets fully textured and finished.
Awesome, awesome. I've got an interesting question. Was there something you wish someone told you when you first started out in modeling and game design and stuff like that?
That there's many ways to do something. And these are pretty broad programs, and there's not one real correct way to do something, but there's a lot of general guidelines that are good ideas that help you form a starting point of where you want to go when you first start out creating something.
Awesome. And maybe one more question, if I may, James. What is it like day to day, right? When you're working on some assets for us or something like that, what is a normal day for you like?
Pretty much just start out, load the programs up. If I'm just designing an asset from scratch, I spend some time gathering some reference material. Then I go about drawing the object and getting the design down that I want. And then I start the modeling process and get it to match at the source material as close as I can.
Awesome, awesome. What I'm going to do is again, if you have questions, make sure you go ahead and pop them in the chat there. If you have a question for James, you can put it there. We'll make sure we get to them at the end when we have some time. I'm going to move on kind of to the next segment here, right? The growth of the industry. As Alex had mentioned, the industry has gone, it is growing, and it was not like it was 5 years ago or even 2 or 3 years ago, right? I'm going to have some very unfun graphs, but it's just to kind of highlight exactly where we're going, right? It has doubled since 2015 to 2025. It is a billion dollar industry, right? And it's not like how it was when I grew up. When I grew up, I used to call myself like a cave troll, right? It was when games came out, they were on a console. You would play them in your house. Maybe you'd have a friend over, maybe not, right? But it was kind of like a very closed off niche kind of group of people. It is now opened up to everyone at large. Everyone is a gamer. Even if you see some people, maybe they're waiting on the bus and they're playing a game. They're doing something on their phone, right? It's an industry that is growing and it will not stop, right? One of the cool things is that it's projected to keep growing, right? Again, it's going to not stop. It's exponential. It's not kind of a linear thing. It's going to grow and grow and grow, right? And it's expected to go beyond $300 billion, right? And I don't remember the numbers from Hollywood, but I know for Hollywood movies and stuff like that versus the game industry is a top competitor and or beating it in most cases. Specifically worldwide, right? Because it's also a worldwide phenomenon. When a game gets launched, it is usually launched online nowadays. It's accessible to everyone. That also means that there's a lot more jobs, right? When we first started out, there weren't schools for this, right? There are schools, there are special programs, there are places like Game U, there are other organizations, there's Udemy, there's, I'm going to call out competitors for a second, but it just goes to show you that there's a supply and a demand, right? There's a demand for all of these skills, and there's a place to learn them, and there's a place to utilize them, right? The jobs growths are going, and they're going to probably double or triple as well, right? Including they're gonna cap out on most of the average growth in revenue for entertainment, right? We're going to actually see a huge growth in it. And the cool thing is they're not just jobs for someone like me who's a programmer or James who is an artist, right? There are support roles. There are other roles in there. There are things like IT, right? People are going to fix the computers, or there are going to be people who do HR, right? You have a company, you have to have human resources. You have to have QA testers. You have to have different people, not just with the skills we're going to go over today. We're going to focus on most of the game stuff. But there are a lot of supporting roles inside this, like marketing. Someone like Alex. Alex is one of our marketers. He's not a game designer. He markets for us. He makes these videos and stuff like that. But he's passionate about games just like us, and he can support us in our role. So even if it's you want to be part of that industry, maybe you don't know if you want to program or do art. There are a lot of supporting roles where you can be in the industry, right? And a lot of jobs that will allow you to be in that industry and support something that you might care about, right? So let's talk about the career opportunities outside there in the game world, right? And there are a lot of them. There are audio and sound engineers, right? For a game to be for a game to draw you in, to be immersed, right? You need sound. You want to hear the footsteps while you're walking. You want to hear the spooky music if you're playing a spooky game. Or, if you're outside and you're playing Mario and you want the happy music to go along with him, boing, boing, right? Going across the screen. You've got folks like James who are our game artists, right? There are few and far between games that are just text-based. They used to be text-based, and I used to play them, right? Visuals and art and animation make a huge difference. It's what draws you in. It's the main attraction on the screen, right? I talked about some of those supporting roles as well. Game producers, project managers. This is again where if you have an understanding of a little bit of how each of these careers work. So if you know a little bit about how game designers work, what tools they use, how the audio engineers work, you can make the game artist line up a sound effect so that in an animation, you have that footstep when the foot hits the ground. And that might be a producer or a manager that's getting these two people to talk, right? So this is another supporting role where you don't have to be an expert in any one of these career paths, but you have to be passionate and understand a little bit about each, that you can actually do some project management or production or start to do some management behind the scenes. You have my favorite, because it happens to be me, game developer, right? This is usually a programmer, someone that has at least a scripting language or a tool that they've been given, and they're the ones that make things happen on the screen, right? And again, this is usually at the behest of a producer that says, we've got this cool animation and we got the cool sound effect. Can you make it jump? Well, now I can put the programming in to make it jump. Then they're going to go back and say, hey, sound effect guy, we need someone to, we want to hear a sound that's going to make us jump. Level designers. This is a big one too, right? I'm trying to think of some of my favorite games. Legend of Zelda comes to mind. Hopefully there's some Zelda fans out there, right? Level design is its own kind of job representation in game design, right? And it's because game developers, when they're making everything link up with the artists and the sound effects, stuff like that, we need some place to go. We need somewhere on the screen to be. We need something that's going to be exciting to do, right? So where we're going to be, those are our level designers. They're going to bring out and flesh up on the screen what world we're actually living in. And we're talking about the world we're living in. We need to know, what's it about, right? What is it about this world? Am I on an alien planet stranded and I have to, signal back to Earth, please come rescue me? Do I, is it in the Dark Ages? I worked in a game called Camelot. Am I a knight of the round table in search of something and I need to fetch fellow knights from the countryside to come help me, right? These are our game writers, right? Someone that's going to write the idea. And this is another one where there are some technical skills needed, but this is more of a creative venture here, right? We'll go into skills in just a second, but our game writers, this is the soul of the game. A game really is about teamwork, and I can't stress that enough. Each one of these game careers that you see on the screen here, a game doesn't get produced unless all of these people are working in time. They communicate well with each other, right? Best of all, QA testers. This is, again, one of those ones where if you are passionate about a game, you understand a little bit about maybe each one of these little sectors, but you don't want to become a pro at art. You don't want to become a pro at sound or writing or something like that, right? But you're passionate about games. quality assurance is a huge, huge step in making a game. They're the ones that get to test the game. And it's one of those things I always caution people, QA sounds fun. Your job is to test the game and play it, right? Let's get paid to play a game. That sounds great. It is also a lot of work, right? Sometimes, I remember in FIFA, we're putting FIFA out, and you think, I'm going to play a soccer match. No, your job today is to make sure that the bounding box, and we're going to learn what that is later, but it's basically the box that, objects can hit. Make sure that it's set up on the goal right. So you have to kick this soccer ball at the goal 800 times, literally 800, just repeat it 800 times to make sure that every little place it hits on this goal, it bounces it back out and it's not a goal, right? But someone has to do that. I don't think there's anyone here that would love to, go and play a game and find a bug, then find another bug. And then, okay, now I can't level my character. Now I can't go to the next level because the flag, I can't jump. It's too high, right? This is what QA does. They'll play a level. They'll talk to the level designers and be like, you know what? Level 2 felt a little bit harder than level 3, but level 3 is higher level. So how about, can we swap these? Can we do something, right? That's kind of what QA is doing, is they're also giving feedback as well as playing the game. So let's talk about the skills, right? The different skill sets. They're the things that we really focus on at GameU, but these are things that, even in your own journey, you want to start to look at and start to consider. And pretty basic, right? We have our art and animation skills. I know that, and James may attest, we'll get into some Q&A later, that I've seen some of our art instructors and some of our artists, they're gonna draw a straight line. They're gonna draw a circle, and draw a straight line, draw a circle. And it sounds very boring, right? But when you're doing quick sketches or you need to have concept art, they're like, okay, we've got this press brief. Alex, our marketing person, needs this, picture for this. Okay, let's get an artist, that skill set of like, I know how to draw a quick, circle, straight line, right? All these skills come together, right? General IT. This is a big one. This is, so if anyone that doesn't know, IT stands for information technology. So it's not just computers and fixing things, although it's a big part of it. Information technology is how we communicate things, right? How we can send our draft off to an editor that will correct our spelling and grammar to make sure that we don't get some spelling errors in the game. You're going to be using probably Office, Microsoft Office, or you're going to be using something like Excel to put in items to a game. So understanding how computers work, but also how email works, how these web conferences work. You're going to have meetings. Maybe you'll be at a company that has different companies, across the world. They have to have a meeting. You're going to do a webinar just like this. So make sure you know how Zoom works, how to get in here. Judith did a great job. Everyone came in, gave the housekeeping. Everyone's muted. And it seems really simple. But that's an IT thing Judith did, right? To make sure that this presentation goes on smooth. Mathematics and physics, right? This is the one that sometimes scares people. It's not that scary. For me, at least, it's fun. Every game, for the most part, is built in a physics engine, right? So if you kick something off a ledge, what does it do? It falls. Now, physics tells us it's going to fall. In a very basic sense, there's something, and I'll go into it when we're doing a game, called the uncanny valley. If something doesn't act like it would in the real world, it looks weird to you, right? It doesn't feel real. We want games to have some kind of realism together into it. So if you have a basic understanding of physics or friction, right? If I throw a character onto the ice, he slides, right? If I throw him into like dirt and gravel, he'll come to a stop. That's technically, if you want the physics stuff, it's the coefficient of friction. And you'll get into the math and the science. The cool thing is, and this is what I love to tell people, is that there are things like linear algebra, y equals mx plus b. It's called point slope. If you guys have ever heard it or have been in school recently, right? Why is that important? That's your curve, so that when you jump, it either feels like your character's kind of flying, or no, it feels like he's got gravity and he comes straight down, right? Some more technical skills, programming languages, right? And we're going to go into quite a few of them. But programming is behind, it is kind of the soul of the internet. It's the soul of web pages, the soul of video games, right? Everything's going to run on programming languages. So having even just a very basic understanding, like one introductory class, if you have a basic understanding, you can at least pick apart some of the things that you're working on. We'll go into kind of personal skills, because this is another big one. That is key. Again, teamwork. And teamwork is the one I'm going to highlight first. all of those different career paths and choices, all the things that I kind of highlighted that you can do in the industry, right? All rely on teams communicating with one another, that the artist gets the walking animation, the sound designer gets the footsteps added, the programmer makes sure that the sound file plays at the right time in the animation, so when the foot hits the ground, it plays, right? That all has to be delivered, and we have to work together, which comes into time management, right? So if you're working on a game, it is a wonderful thing, but it's almost like I'm trying to think of the right term for it. It's basically an octopus. It's got all of these little arms going everywhere. And here's the game. It's what it wants to be is the head of the octopus. You have all these little arms that have to do something to make it happen, right? And a lot of that is going to come down to your time management, right? Your communication, your teamwork, saying, hey, I got to publish this, I got to get this walking animation with the sound. Okay, can you get the sound delivered first so that the animation's there? Now the programmer can actually work on the programming, because if we get the animation, then the sound comes 3 weeks later, the programmer can't do a job, right? So being able to manage your time, right, and setting reminders for yourself, being able to communicate effectively with others is a huge kind of skill that goes a long way. Creativity is kind of the no-brainer here for me. Games, I think, at least for me, and there's personal choice. Some people might just like Tetris. That's okay too. But someone had to create Tetris, and it wasn't an idea until it was actually created, right? But that creativity is something that you guys want to harness. It's something that we really harness when we're working with students. The way we kind of approach our design is very self-directed. What do you want? What is the craziest thing you want to see happen in a video game? And then we'll help them break it down, and we'll go step by step, and we'll go through the process of building it out, right? But it also means being adaptable. You might have this awesome creative idea, right? And with this awesome creative idea, they might come back and say, you know what? We don't have enough time to do that many animations. We can only do this many. Now you got to change your creative idea to now line up with the timeline and the time management, right? A lot of these skills are kind of interconnected. So let's talk about tools. And hopefully I'm not rushing again. If you have questions, make sure you're putting them in the chat and stuff like that. But the different technical tools, the tools of the trade, really, right? We've got a couple of them on here. Blender, which is a 3D modeling program I'm sure James has used. There's another one called Maya. I think it's on the next page. I did this in practice. I said, hey, Maya's not on here. It's on the next page. It's also another 3D tool. We have C#, C++. There's also Python. There's Lua. There's Java. There's JavaScript, HTML. Those are web page-based ones. There's something called Ada. There's a million and one. There's Ruby, Python, Perl, a bunch of programming languages. They're unique in that if you learn one, you can learn the others pretty quickly. That's kind of the cool thing. If you learn how to add, you can learn to subtract pretty quickly. That's what I would say for programming languages, is you learn one, doing it a different way, a little bit easier. You have something like Illustrator for your animations and stuff like that. There's Maya. There's the one that I was about to botch up again, but there it is. And it's another 3D art tool. We've got Photoshop. We also got our game engines, right? We've got Unity. We've got Unreal. There are other ones. There's Construct. There's Game Maker. There's Godot. There's a whole bunch of different game engines as well. The cool thing about game engines, and I would encourage you, practice is another skill. Not even a skill, but something that you should always do. Most of these things on the screen, Maya, the exception here, most of them are free, right? Go out and find them. They're free to use. With the game engines, I will just caution you. If you make a game and you make money off of it and you use their game engine, they want to cut. You can use it for free, but as soon as you start to make money, they're going to want money. They're going to want you to purchase it, or they're going to want 10%. And that is standard. That's normal for game development. Just a caution, if you go out and practice with these and learn with these. Went over all of that. All of the different skills that it comes to breaking in and getting in and building a game, all of the different programs and different skill sets that go into building a game. I want to actually spend some time, and it'll be about, I don't know, hopefully 10, 15 minutes here to build a game, so we have some time for our Q&A at the end. And I'm going to use one of those engines that I just mentioned, and it's called Construct. It has quickly become my favorite game engine. And the reason why is that it's adaptable, it's quick, it's easy, and you're going to see how easy it is. I'm going to demonstrate it. It allows me, even if I'm going to build a super complex game in Unreal 5, is to have the best graphics you've ever seen. I start here and build it here first. It's usually what I call a prototype. So this is a way of building a game, very accessible, very easy, and you could do it really quick. Now, I do have to stop the screen for 1 second because I have to reshare it so you can actually see what's going on. So you'll see the screen again, but now, and James or Alex or someone give me a thumbs up. Can you guys see the construct screen? Cool.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So what we're going to do, we're going to build a game from scratch. And again, this is Construct. So I'm going to go up to Construct. Again, this is a free, and this is a web page. So maybe you have a computer that you can't put the, a big game engine on, or the graphics not supporting it. This is directly from a web page, guys. This is, if you've got a phone, you can do it on the phone, even tablet. You can do it on the computer. Very accessible. I'm going to come to Construct. I'm going to make a new game, and I'm just going to do some entertainment demo, right? We'll do a demo. We're just going to hit create. And it's going to bring us right in here into Construct. Now, this is a game engine. It's technically called an IDE. It stands for Integrated Development Environment. No one needs to remember that, I promise. There's going to be a lot of technical terms that you're going to hear me say. And one of the neat things about this, whether it's your hobby or you do make a career out of it, you're going to hear a lot of the terms, a lot of the things that we coin or phrase. You're going to hear it over and over again. You're going to get used to it. So if I'm talking a little bit too fast, which I tend to like to do, I get excited. I'm sorry, guys. Don't worry, right? The things you're hearing, these terms and phrases you're hearing, you're going to see them a million times if you get into this. So if we're going to make a game, I think the first thing we're going to start with, we need kind of a background, someplace for our game to live, right? Now, for this, we're going to use something called a sprite. A sprite is basically a basic 2D image. And in Construct here, there's two ways to do this. You can right-click with your mouse and insert an object, or you can even double-click, and it's going to come up. And these are all the different objects, the things that can go inside our game. And the sprite should look like a little Space Invader guy right here. A key skill, and if you remember kind of one of the soft skills, or organization, I don't know if it was on there or not, but organization should be one of those skills that are on there. Aside with time management, is organization. Name things and name things properly. It's called a naming convention, right? So if I'm going to name something, right, I'm going to name it SPR_. That way I know it's a sprite. So that if there's a bug that comes up, or QA, let's say we talked about QA is testing my game and a bug comes up, it's going to have an error with the name of this object. If it says SPR_ in front of it, right? Oh, it's a sprite. They don't even have to look to see what it is. They'll know instantly it's a sprite, and we'll just call it the background, right? So if you want to wait, I don't know if I heard somebody, if you wait or put your question in towards the end, what I'm going to do, I've got this plus sign now, so Construct is waiting for me to place it. So we're going to go ahead and place it, and it's just a blank image. Now, this is where, if you're an artist like James will come in here and draw something spectacular. I am not an artist, so aside from it being a really great drawing tool, I have some pre-made visuals that I'm going to use today because, again, I am not an artist, so I'm just going to go with like a, actually, let's not do that. We're going to create something like the sprite, and it's called a tiled background. Reason why, TV for tiled background, I want the background to repeat. So I got ahead of myself. I would have to, and you can use sprites, just that little picture I put in, and you'd have to drag a bunch of them in. What's neat about this tiled background is, again, you can draw it, but if you draw a repeating texture, what's neat about this one is I can actually set this up in the corner, and then I can drag it, and it's going to cover my entire game here. Super cool. Now, it might be hard to see on someone's computer, but there are these dotted lines right here. Inside these dotted lines, and I can actually annotate like I would if I were teaching a class. Inside these dotted lines right up in here, this is called your viewport. Basically, it's your camera. So anything inside here is your camera. So that's where we're going to start to put kind of the stage and build the world, put our character in there. And I think we'll start with let's start with the background. Let's start with the stage. We'll introduce our character last. So I'm going to double click again. Now our background is going to be something called a tile map. A tile map is something neat. This is where we get the artists to put together different backgrounds. And we'll be like, we're going to have like a jungle scene. Can I have some jungle grass? Can I have some palm trees? Can I have some coconuts on the ground or a banana tree, right? And what they'll do is we'll have artists make different pieces of art and they'll put it into something called a tile map. And the tile map level 1, right? The tile map has all those pictures on the same page. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if I insert a tile map, it comes with a default one. So here's the cool thing. If you want to start and get going with Construct, it comes with its own default. I'm going to add a little simpler one that I have that I want to use, like this, right? And so we have some wood, some stone, some grass. We've got just basically a tile map. And it's all those pictures kind of squished in together, right? So we took those pictures and put it on one picture file. What is really neat about this, though, is when I come down here, it's put that tile map on. I do need to change the height and width here. So these are the properties of that tile map. What color it is it 100% opacity? Opacity is how see-through something is. So if you want the background to kind of blend in, or if you want the foreground to blend in with your background, you would change that. But what I want to do is just change the tile size. That's how big the tile size is over here. And it's kind of hard to see. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit here. Yeah. And what I can do, though, is when I have a tile map, this is actually kind of cool. So instead of going in and making a sprite for each of these and then just copying and pasting, that would work. But this tile map allows me to like grab a brush and I can highlight multiple little areas that I want to draw. And if I grab my draw tool, I literally just click to draw and start to build my level out. And it actually snaps onto a grid inside the tile map. So now you can just start to draw this. Maybe I want to have like a little edge here, something like this. There we go. We'll just start with something basic because what we want to do is we've got this background, we've got this tile map, which allows us to draw, it's basically the foreground, right? The things that are in front of the background that the characters should be jumping on. If we want the character to be able to stay on top of one of these objects, we're going to add something called a behavior. And so if I go over to the properties here, and it says tile map, I'm going to go to behavior. I'm going to add a new behavior. I don't want my character to fall through it. So I'm going to make it solid. Making this solid means anything that I drew with this tile map is now solid. Players and other objects can't fall or go through it. Background, foreground, objects in ground. Let's start with the character now. And this is pretty simple. We're going to double click to add an object if it will let me. It really doesn't want to let me today. Oh, let me get out of layers here. There we go. And what we'll do is we're going to add another sprite. Now this one, sprite player, we're going to use that naming convention again so that we know if something breaks with the player, I know it's a sprite of the player, right? And I'll come on and I'll pop them in here. And this is where the animators, right? So animators and our 2D artists, like James does, right, get a chance to make something called the sprite sheet. And again, I'm going to kind of breeze past. This is just a general idea of how games are made. But a sprite sheet is that character, my ninja frog here, right? But each one of these is like a next step in the animation. So if you watch, he starts to actually breathe. It's just like a little idle animation. And I can actually pop him out. And he just sits there and breathes, right? Now, I notice there's something wrong with this. It doesn't loop. I want it to loop so that he continues to just idle there. So you have an animator that just draws a character, and in the animation, one frame, it's just a small movement, up, down. So now I got my little ninja frog just sitting there. He's just breathing, right? The other thing that happens, and this is kind of important, I will go over your collision, right? Let me zoom way in here. Your collision. This is where your character can bump into those solid objects. So remember, we set those walls or those bricks as solid, right? And this is a collision for my little ninja frog. So if I put a brick above him, he'll bump his head right here. And if you wanted it so that it looks like maybe he squishes in a little bit, you could lower these down. If you want to make it so you can hide inside a wall a little bit, you change these. But these are the collision points. This is how the character interacts and collides with things in the game. But what we've got is our ninja frog right here. And he's missing just one thing to put this all together, right? We've got ninja frog. We've got foreground, background. He needs behavior as well. So a behavior is, again, how these objects are interacting inside the game. And to make a game, there's only 2 behaviors you really need for Ninja Frog here. And that's going to be this one that says scroll to. This is going to make the camera lock on and follow the character across the screen. It's going to be super important. We don't want to lose the main character. The other behavior I'm going to add, and it makes it super easy for movement, is called platform. So when I have platform, scroll to, right? All I want to do, I want to put all of these all together. And I'm going to hit the play button. What happened? I can't see where the block is. So we're going to figure that out. Here's the first bug, right? And game development, I came prepared. No, I can't see the background. I think I know what happens. I have to change the layer real quick. But he's on that brick. I know if I jump off the brick, he's going to fall out of the world. He moves. Let's see what happened with our background, though. Let's go ahead and Z order, send to bottom. Z order, right? I will do the quick. Remember I said how there's math and stuff involved? This is algebra, or linear algebra. X is left to right on the screen. Y is up and down on the screen. That's how the character moves. If I make my X go bigger, he goes across screen, just like number lines and stuff in math. If I want something to come out towards me from the screen or down in, it's called Z. That's the next dimension, believe it or not, in graphing and stuff, is the Z dimension. So if I send, let me see where I can see it. If I send Z order to the bottom of the layer here, oh, why not? Z order, send to, oh, okay. There's a tile map. This is the one I want to send to the bottom. Got to have the right object, guys. Send it to the bottom of the layer. Grab our tile map. There's our tile map. I can put it back here. Now, hopefully, we still can't see it. Why is it not visible? That's okay, guys. What we can do, move to layer 0. That's fine. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. What we can do is this, because we're going to make a game work here, is we can take our tile map. We can come back in. We have to actually add a background layer, but that's okay. Does anyone see that or no? Is it just me? that tile map is not visible.
Yeah, tile map's not visible.
Okay. That is okay. Let's go ahead and we'll do it the fun way then. We'll fix it in 2 seconds, and if not, we're going to move on anyway, guys, because I'm almost done anyway. Send the bottom of layer, put him to the top of the layer. They're both on layer 1. There should be a tile map here. I don't know if it's just being broken, but that's okay. What I can do real quick, so you guys kind of get the idea of it, is the one I was working on just briefly. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished, guys. I promise. always have a backup. I know it sounds. We talked about skills. I'm going to come back to skills just a little bit. Having a backup plan is a good skill to have, by the way. So I know if something broke with this game, I had already pre-built this demo. I know it sounds silly, but being prepared for things like that, right? So, and this is what it's going to end up looking like when you actually get it together, right? And what's really neat, I'm going to show you really quick what the programming looks like, and then we'll go to Q&A. But right now, he moves back and forth. He jumps. He's not looking left or right. Here's the problem. Why isn't he looking left or right? This is my favorite part, the programming. I'm going to give you a quick demo of the programming. For this to work, I need to add in a keyboard real quick. And I'm going to go to the event sheet. It's event-based programming. When something happens, do this thing, right? So there's an event, something that happens. There's an action, what to do when that event happens. So if I do to like keyboard and I say, key is pressed. So when a key is pressed and I wanted to make it the left arrow key. So this is the program again, super easy to learn. When I press the left arrow key, I want to change, I make my player face the other direction. That's actually called mirroring, right? So we're going to set mirrored. So now if you guys remember before that, he didn't look to the left. Now when he comes in, when I press left, now he goes the other direction. Problem. He's stuck in that direction now, right? All we would do, we would kind of copy and paste this, right? We'd come in here and we'd actually just add it again. Keyboard, when the key is pressed, I'll make it the right key now. And then we're going to find our sprite, our player there. Set mirrored. And this time we don't want it to be mirrored. Not mirrored is to the right. And here's a little tip in game development. When you're building a game, the first direction a player should ever face is to the right. It's kind of a standard. You don't have to do it. You can make a game where it plays right to left, but people read from left to right. We make the character always point to the right. It's something that we've always done. But now my character, he can even change direction in midair, right? Funny thing is, it probably took me 10 or 15 minutes, even rambling on about the different technical aspects and stuff like that. But to drop a character in, drop some pictures in, even the programming to make them look left and right, you're off to building a game pretty swiftly. What I'll do is I'll close that up, and then I'll reshare kind of our presentation stuff here. And I'm going to slip it back over to Alex.
Awesome. Thank you so much for putting that game together, Adam. And Adam actually just showed you all a very important part of game development, and that is troubleshooting. Something's always going to go wrong. Like we talked about, there is an entire job title in the game industry that is about finding problems and issues. There's always stuff that's going to pop up and everything like that. So the ability to adapt, find the error, and fix it is probably the biggest key factor when it comes to making games. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to go ahead and take the next few minutes and do our Q&A session. We got a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to get through all of them. I'm not sure if we will, so I do apologize in advance if we do miss your question. Another question I saw was, we mentioned something about free Game U lessons. How do we take advantage of those? Yes, so everybody on this call has the opportunity to take a free Game U intro class. If you guys want to, our contact information is up on the screen. Feel free to shoot us an email, give us a call, go to that website page and fill out the form and let us know that you are interested. Just let us know that you attended this webinar and we'll make sure we get you all set up. Adam actually does a lot of our free intro classes as well, so you might see a familiar face with that. Another question I saw, is GameU an allowable service under Medicaid waiver guidelines? Okay, so yes, we touched on this a little bit earlier. So we're HCBS, or Home and Community-Based Services aligned, which means that if you're a Medicaid beneficiary, that support can often be used for GameU courses. Now, I can't give you the exact answer if you yourself are qualified, but our enrollment team would definitely be able to help out with that if you want to go ahead and reach out to them, again, using that contact information above. Another question that I see is, does GameU hire students? So I'm actually going to hand this one off to Adam Coleman to talk about a little bit about our 360 program, which is actually what James does. Adam, can you answer about our 360 program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do hire students. It is called Accelerate 360. Accelerate 360 takes our students, and usually what happens is, you're coming to learn a set of skills, right? You're learning to the soft skills and the hard skills, right? When you reach a certain point with your instructor, I would urge you to actually speak with them, right? So it comes with an instructor recommendation, right? You say, hey, you know what? This is really great. Can I share what I'm learning, right? James works with us and actually for curriculum makes a lot of the assets that we put in the lessons that you guys learn. And he came to us and said, I really love doing this. I'd love to help and I'd love to work with you. We also have game dev teams, believe it or not, that kind of work on different games as well. Internally at GameU, we work on some games. That's also
Yes,
something that 360 works on. Go ahead, James.
A lot of the stuff I do is in relation to that as well. I've been with the GameU game development team since pretty much their inception, and you can do a large variety of genres with what tools you have available here.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things. If you do sign up as a student, speak with your instructor. Let them know that you're interested. There are a lot of opportunities. We also have instructors that actually teach. So like myself and like a few of our other instructors, if you get good in your craft, you want to share it with others and maybe relate how it related to you, maybe how hard it was for you to start, what it was like for you to be a student, right? We'd like you to share that with our students, actually help teach. So yep, we do hire students. It's called the 360 program. It's something that as you come to GameU, work with your instructor, and that's something we can definitely look at. So.
Awesome. Next question I see is, my 9-year-old has done Minecraft in his GameU class. what would be a good next thing to try? So that's a great question. And really, to be honest, the sky's the limit, and it's whatever your 9-year-old is interested in. Maybe he's more interested in the art aspect of things. If that's the case, maybe 2D art and 3D art, that would be the direction to go to. Maybe they're interested more so in the code aspect of things. Taking one of our coding classes or even our game design specific classes would be a good route. There's so many different avenues to try, so it's really hard to narrow that down. Every individual is like unique with whatever they want to try, and we really try to have all those aspects covered.
The neat thing on that is Minecraft is a great gateway because there is art and programming both included in it. So those are usually your two main branches. They're going to know, be like, did you like the drawing better? Did you like the programming better? Making it happen, right? That's the first question I would ask them, and they might guide you into what they want. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Adam, we got a question specifically for you. Can you do internships at Blizzard, Nintendo, or Sony if you want to be a game writer or tester?
So they do offer internships. I can answer yes, there are internships. For game writing specifically, I am not sure. I know that there are a lot of internships specifically for art and code. Game writing, I'm not aware of, but it may be, right? And one of the big things, depending on where you come from, you have to apply for it, right? They're going to have their own internship websites and stuff like that. I would apply for it. If you're in a school or in a program like GameU, you can ask teachers too. Usually they reach out to programs like GameU or even schools, if you have a school that you're going to, that they reach out for internships too. I do know that they do exist. They are awesome. We even have internships here, which is something, again, I guess I could talk on. We do have internships here. And that's one of those things, if you reach out to our enrollment team, they're the ones that will actually follow up with more information. But we do have internships where you might work with James and do some artwork. If you've already, in the industry, you've got some experience and you want to put something on your resume. So we have internships as well. So
Awesome. Awesome. So we've only got time for about 2 more questions. So I'm going to try to knock those out. So this question just popped up and it kind of intertwined with another. So let's try to do 2 birds with 1 stone. And that question is about AI and like how do AI affect jobs in the game industry? So I can let a little bit of insight in on this one, and I'm going to hand it on over to Adam because I think he has a very fascinating insight and point onto that. One of the things I will say is looking at job opportunities in the game development industry, it is thriving at the moment. It has, as we saw earlier, the industry itself has nearly doubled, and the jobs have included with that. So the jobs are continuing to go up. There hasn't been a drop, even though there was that skyrocket boost from 2020. So jobs are very high in demand at the moment. Now, Adam actually has a very fascinating and great insight on kind of, I don't want to say an error of AI, but Adam, can you share a little bit of insight on why you think that understanding programming, coding, and all that stuff is extremely beneficial, even though AI is around?
Yeah. AI is a tool. It is programmed and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. So programming, and I am a software engineer, programming, it does exactly what you're supposed to do. A frustrating part of that is that if something doesn't work, it means that you programmed it wrong. Doesn't mean the computer got it wrong. It meant you programmed it wrong. And that's a hard thing to learn as a programmer. It's like, I did something. It's not the computer, right? The computer does exactly what it's told to do. It's a tool. That's a very smart tool. It can read an encyclopedia. It can read every dictionary. It can read 8 million pieces of code in 2 seconds and figure out what the best way to code something is. But it is a tool. And what's neat is utilizing that tool will help you become successful, right? And it's one of those things I always say, learning some basic programming is beneficial, right? Because you can go right now to AI and you can try this out and say, I want you to write me a script in Roblox or Minecraft that will make Darth Vader appear when I push the E button. It will give you the script. You can literally say that specific thing. It will give you the program for it, and it will probably work. What if it doesn't work? What if there's an update in Roblox and AI doesn't know about this update and the code changed a little bit, right? Or what if you want to tell it to do something, it gives you something that's close, but it doesn't work exactly the way you want it, right? You want to be able to understand what it gave you in the first place. So having an understanding, again, that math, that science, but also the programming, you can utilize it as a tool, and it's a stepping stone to get you close, right? For me, it could take weeks sometimes for some of the systems that I would program in a game. Now I can tell AI, it will give it to me, and then I'm going to go in there because I know what it gave me. I can actually read the language it gave me. I can go in there, customize it, gut it a little bit, and change it. And now, instead of taking a week, it took me 4 or 5 days, right? Or, take me 3 days. So it's actually a tool. A lot of people, they always ask, is AI going to take over? No, not really, unless someone tells it to, right? It's just a tool, and it does exactly what we tell it to do. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. Unfortunately, that's really all the time we have for the questions today. So if we weren't able to get to one of your questions and you still had it, feel free to reach out to us afterwards. Again, the information is on screen. Now, there's just one more thing. I know we're just a minute over on time, but I really just wanted to give you guys all a gift as a thank you for attending. And that is a special invitation to 2 workshops that we have upcoming. So those barcodes that you see up there, if you scan them, it will take you to a sign-up form to be able to attend either of these workshops. To give you a quick idea, at GameU, we are very proud to say that every month we run multiple workshops for our students. Now, these workshops are led by our pro instructors. They're an hour long, and they range from every aspect of what we teach, from drawing comics to animation to game design. And tomorrow, similar to what we saw Adam do today, we are hosting a workshop where you will be able to walk in, build your own platformer game from the ground up with no experience needed in just an hour. So if you want to attend that, scan that barcode. It's 2 to 3 Pacific time tomorrow, or 5 to 6 Eastern time. If you want to try our workshop, but you can't make that one, we have another fun one called Mixamo Animation. And that is on Monday from 2:30 to 3:30 Pacific time and 5:30 to 6:30 Eastern time. And what that is we're going to use this awesome program called Mixamo that has all these already designed characters. And your job is to hop on in, make an animation, make a fun animation. We're going to walk you through how to do that. Maybe you can do some dance moves like you see that mouse doing down there. So entirely what you would like to do. Again, both of those are free. No experience needed. Just use those barcodes to sign on up. All right.
I'll hand you back to Judith.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Like we said, we will be sending out links to the recording, and we hope that you enjoyed today. Don't forget to keep an eye on your mailbox for information on our fundraiser at the Laugh Factory on September 7th and the Creator Community on September 18th. But until then, have a great time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Have a
good day.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
Adam,
Thank
James,
you,
and Alex.
everyone. Great
Bye.
workshop.
Thank you.